which I think I've always been saying his name wrong. Welcome back to Rewind with bschwitty, because wine whoopee. Today, it's Friday. Let's do our usual Friday thing. Today we're going to be reviewing a new wine series that I found on Amazon Prime Video, called Wine Whoopee, with Brandon Anders. I don't remember if it's Anders or Anders. Sorry, Brandon. From one Brandon to another. I apologize if I got your last name wrong. And produced and directed by one of his childhood friends, Christopher Nostrin. Let's just get this out of the way first. Clearly, this is something that they put together. It's two of them, like maybe three other members on their film crew, at most. And it's a labor of love, and you can clearly see that they put it together, and it's shot pretty decently, and just kudos to both you, Brandon, and you, Christopher, for making this. It's a love letter to the Hudson Valley wine growing area in New York, and clearly you're passionate about it, and it shows in your video. So great job on that. But it's a review, and well, I do occasionally do screen shorts and movies for the San Luis Obispo International Film Festival. So let's dive in, shall we? But no, actually, I said the first. I do have a second. I want to do this. I am jealous that they were able to do this themselves. Since I started Rewind, I have wanted to do something like this in a documentary style, a la Anthony Bourdain, which is a clear influence on their production, which I'll note later in this review. But yeah, I wanted to do something similar, wine series where we would go out and travel and interview out in the vineyard and get the cool shots and do the cool things. And again, kudos for you guys for doing it. I as a former assistant winemaker and someone who makes his own wine, I'm jealous that you were able to do it before me, and that you were able to do it with the name Brandon. That's the thing that stung the most when I saw a wine program with Brandon, and it wasn't me. So only slightly kidding about that, but it's different than what I would have done, because I'm not from the Hudson Valley. I'm not from New York. I'm from Washington. But I would have stayed on the Central Coast and focused on the Central Coast, and then maybe spread out from there. But we're two different people. Apparently, we're both Brandons that learn how to make wine on the Central Coast of California. Eerie. Let's talk about Wine Whoopee. It is a 4-part season series currently, but it sounds like they planned it as a one season with a possible second season. It is a documentary style interview exploration of the Hudson Valley winemaking area, and that's in New York. And it's juxtaposed with Brandon talking about his own life growing up, and then his life once he'd gotten into the wine industry, which has its strengths, has its weaknesses, but it's mostly because there's no actual juxtaposition between what they're clearly trying to make into a juxtaposition in each episode. I feel like that could have been focused on a little tighter. But yeah, it's 4 episodes. The first 2 are 15 minutes-ish, and the second 2 are closer to 20. And they're fun. It's a good resource if you're not familiar with the Hudson Valley AVA, like I am clearly not. I know the Finger Lakes. I know Long Island. I don't think I've ever had any Hudson Valley wine before. And these two grew up in the area, so you can see their passion for that in everything that they shoot. And then in I want to say the once you get to the third and fourth episode, Brandon starts talking directly to camera, even though he has voiceovers, so I don't understand the need for the direct fourth wall break. Also, I mentioned I was jealous earlier. The first episode, he gets to meet Kevin Zraly. Windows on the World is one of the first books that I read when I got into wine and eventually into winemaking. But when I first got into wine, I read Windows on the World, and that's what got me through the level 1 sommelier exam. And in this first episode, he's one of the 3 or 4 people that he interviews over the course of 15 minutes. And I acknowledge that it is hard to make a documentary show, and I have interviewed my fair share of winemakers over the years doing Rewind. So I understand how difficult it could be to get a performance out of them, I guess, since they're already characters and they really are their own character, which I guess is the goal of a documentary, to capture that. But I understand. I feel you guys. The first episode is a little stiff. It's a little clunky, but hey, it's called the pilot for a reason. You are being introduced. I mean, if you look at it as a pilot, you're being introduced narratively to who he is, but at the same time, it doesn't really inform who he is in the episode. In the episode, he's very stiff. He's not being the center of attention. The way it's cut, he hardly even has a presence in the interviews. And then they do they're going for the cool, deep Anthony Bourdain introspection, but it lacks the pathos and the writing that Bourdain brought to his show, which I guess I shouldn't be comparing this to something professionally produced, but it so badly wants to be it that you can't overlook that. He does all the sunglasses, walking away, being cool shots, and it's a little jarring, those pieces with the class clown and then the thoughtful asking questions, if that makes any sense. But again, it's first episode. There's growing pains, and you see it as the 4-episode season goes on. Episode 2, the show starts to grow into its shoes. Andrews seems more comfortable talking with his guests. I'd be completely nervous to be interviewing Kevin Zraly, just because personal hero of mine as well in the wine industry. And in episode 4, he comes back. Brandon takes a class from him on Burgundy wines, and the man has presence. Anyway, episode 2, a step up from the previous episode. There is some weird panning decisions on their wide shots. Other than that, I also noticed that Brandon enjoys comparing things to rubber and silicone when tasting wines, or the wines that he tasted in the first 2 episodes. I'm curious if that is indicative of the Hudson Valley. Again, this is a choice, a stylistic choice. They go full serial killer for like way too long before even introducing the fact that he says that it's a Chucky mask, and they wash out the color palette, and it's you could tell they had fun making this. And also his guest, I think it was the owner of the winery that they visited during the second episode. He was amazing. He was relaxed. He had great chemistry. He was very charismatic. That table sit down, if you were trying to do a Bourdain style show, that was the interaction you wanted. That was people on the same level just talking. It really struck a chord. I thought episode 3 was interesting because they talked to a woman whose vineyard is like on a shale cliffside, and she talks openly about global warming, which is nice because a lot of people in the industry don't really accept that as something that happens, that exists. I'm not going to get into that. It was refreshing that in a documentary about wineries, winemaking in a specific region, that they at least touched on that. And then episode 4, like I said, he makes it back to New York City to do some wine tasting at a Burgundy wine class hosted by Kevin Riley. And also he had to do a Zoom interview in episode 4. I'm assuming production kind of got hit by COVID on the tail end. So that's unfortunate. It's a good finish to the season. By this episode, Brandon is super comfortable talking to the camera. He's personable. He's not as rigid as he was in that first episode or two. And it turns into something that I would like to see a second season of. I think this is a great first season for a small production that's a labor of love. It's informative about wine in a region that's not commonly covered, which is the entire point of the series. And again, great job to Brandon and Christopher for putting this together and making a wine series about a region that doesn't get its due. And just to be clear, this is not a sponsored post. I just found this on Amazon Prime for free. Amazon Prime Video. It's streamable now in the US. That's Wine Whoopee, or, just type in wine into your Amazon Prime Video search and you might find it. Takes about a little bit over an hour to watch, and you'll learn something about wine and wine in the Hudson Valley. So, and Brandon, if you're out there, come on for an interview. I want to reiterate that I very much enjoyed this. Remember, you can find me here on YouTube by going to youtube.com/rewindshow. Leave me a comment while you're here. Give me a like, give me a share. Smash the bell icon to get notified when new episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You also find me over on Instagram, where we post these episodes to IGTV. If they're under 15 minutes, you get to see the whole thing. If not, you got to come here. I didn't realize my time limit had been raised recently, so we're up to 15 minutes, full episodes on IGTV. Check it out now. And as always, you can find me on Twitter by going to @bschwitty. This has been Rewind. My name is bschwitty. Go check out Wine Whoopee and have an excellent weekend. I'll catch you next time.